Tardive dyskinesia typically explains an involuntary movement, mostly to the face, the jaw, the eyes.
It usually affects the mouth, the eyes, sometimes just like the grimacing of the cheeks.
The biting of the cheeks, or like if I would, I'm twitchy today, or
it feels like a vice. There's something in there, but you can't see it. Constant pressure.
If you were laying down for the torso, you will feel your torso go up and down.
There is numbness, burning.
There's just no getting comfortable, and you just have to move and move and move.
Nerve pain.
And it's all from medicine that doctors have prescribed for it.
My journey started February 2019, and I got on Wellbutrin for ADHD and depression.
I started dealing with mental health issues around 11. They started medicating me off and on around 16, 17.
I was probably sick, my whole life, but I didn't officially get diagnosed until I was 25.
I was referred to a psychiatrist for medication purposes for my anxiety disorder by a psychologist.
And it was getting on risperidone that I started having the jaw movement.
I started showing symptoms of tardive dyskinesia that I knew weren't normal May 6, 2016.
2017, I was put on Abilify.
In 2017, I started reporting that I was having these tics.
I started getting some weird symptoms in my mouth.
In order to sleep, my feet would just go insane.
My tongue would flip upside down and push against my left side of the teeth, and it would just sit like that.
Then I started having this burping issue. I would just burp.
I went to the hospital when I first started getting sick because I didn't really know what was going on with me.
Initially, I had went to my neurologist because I also suffer from a seizure disorder. She was completely baffled, straight up told me I have no idea.
I went to a GI doctor, gave me an endoscopy and down my stomach, nothing wrong. He said it was totally normal. And he said to my wife, it's this.
I went to my med management doctor and he accused me of being on drugs and going through withdrawal.
They would want to do a mental health evaluation on me. And this is not a mental health issue.
I ended up having to admit myself to a psych unit to get diagnosed.
They did the brain scan. There wasn't anything. There was no Parkinson's. There was no multiple sclerosis. And he's like, I don't think you're a malinger. I don't think you're lying about this. I definitely think it could be tardive dyskinesia.
They automatically put me on another medication, and they didn't know a lot about it.
It got worse as we kept experimenting with medication.
Biting my cheeks started. So even going through my journal, I'd be like, that my cheek again, my cheek can't heal.
After 3 weeks, I couldn't walk. With more than a couple steps, it was like my movements were so weird. I ended up falling, breaking both sides of my ribs.
At that time, my jaw was clenching so tight that I broke 4 teeth.
It has gotten to where I have to be physically restrained during my bad episodes. My best friend, Nikki, had to stand behind me while I sat in a chair, and I was shaking and twitching so badly. She ended up with bruises across her chest, bruises on her arms.
And I found with me, my TD kind of acts up when I get anxious or nervous.
I can feel when it's trying to come up. It feels like I'm being electrocuted from the inside. It feels like someone has a car battery hooked up to me and is every so often just up in the wattage.
Basically, I get up in the morning and I lay in a fetal position, hoping that it goes away soon. It usually takes 2-3 hours every morning before it subsides. That happens every morning. I go to bed at night full of anxiety about waking up in the morning and getting up and having to go through this.
I have Crohn's disease, I have endometriosis. So I have things that cause severe pain. And then you get your TD symptoms. And it's like, okay, now I'm in pain because I can't be still from my other chronic pain. So it's like a double-edged sword.
I was having terrible cognitive problems. I didn't know what day it was. I couldn't finish a sentence.
And being an actor too, I got to the point I couldn't even talk. I had to use my phone, to talk to people.
I had to drop out of my golf league that I had been in for 30 years because every time I swung the club, I fell down.
It robs you of so much more than just your body movement.
My business went totally downhill. And so I ended up at the end of 2019 having to close my firm and go on disability.
It tore me down to the darkest depths. I can't even tell you. I wanted to die many, many a day. And it almost destroyed my marriage because I was no longer the person I used to be.
If someone has severe TD, it could take away from their personality, and that's what takes away their quality of life.
It's a scary disease to be honest about because you do look crazy when you're having an episode.
One of the most important things is having a good support group around you.
I work with a lot of children with autism, and I've seen it where my children with ASD, half of them have parents who are extremely supportive, friends and family are supportive, and that child excels and learns everything they need to.
My family was an excellent support group.
My two older kids understand, sometimes mommy's hands, arms, legs, whatever, do things that I can't control.
There's shame because you know you didn't cause it, you know it's not your fault, or you're blaming it on something else. That takes a mental toll. That is going to mess with your self-worth. That is going to mess with your self-esteem.
There's a couple of women that I talk to frequently that get really down, and we're there for each other. And that support system and the awareness and people knowing more about it, so you're not so embarrassed in public.
The biggest thing is not just for the patient to be aware of all the side effects, but also the caretaking team to be aware of all the side effects.
The newer doctors, the younger ones, I think are being trained and are understanding it more, because when I went in, they've understood what's going on with me.
TD for me was really hard to avoid because one of the statistics I saw was that if you're Asian American or if you're Black, you have a high chance, and I'm both.
There is no medicine that can fix the dopamine receptors in your brain to cure tardive dyskinesia. You just have it. You have it for good.
I do have the option of using, I think it's pronounced Usito, and also Ingrezza. But the reason why I'm choosing not to is because I'm not ready to try a new medication, especially after developing TD.
I would literally give back every single second of sleep that Seroquel gave me to have my body be my own again.
This is your body, and this is medicine that you're putting into your body. So if you're not okay putting it in there, find something else.
I understand, and I have so much sympathy and love and compassion for the mental health community. And that really is the community I feel that has been the most betrayed, because they can't stop. They're afraid that if they stop, they will have psychosis. They will end up in the hospital. They will commit suicide. They will hurt themselves. And so they are forced to continue to take this medication.
I want to get some awareness out there. It's so important.
There's not enough out there for TD. There's not enough. And the fact that National Organization for TD is the only national organization out there, it means so much more.
We just need to get it out there, because I really pride myself on being a nerd and a researcher. And I felt so foolish that I did not know enough about tardive dyskinesia before.
I run up and down this busy marketplace, back and forth with my TD shirt on. And I am waiting for somebody to ask me what this is.
If you have TD, there are so many options for support. You just gotta find it, and don't let yourself feel alone.
You gotta think positive in life. Life will just kick you in the butt, and you gotta either fight or not. And I chose to fight, and I'm gonna continue to fight, because I got a family. I got people that love me and need me.